Welcome back to the channel, guys. Maverick here, and I've got another Call of Duty Warzone video for you. Today we're going to talk about the tactical player style and my recommended drops and loadouts for these players. If you remember, tactical players are players that are characterized as having excellent understanding of the game or player response, and they have above average mechanical skills. They carefully craft game flow around them by pushing and pulling players into unfavorable engagements. They have a very fluid style. They respond well to just about anything that's thrown at them. For this player type, we are looking for drop locations that are dense with buildings, preferably ones with multiple levels of elevation. This creates an environment for a thoughtful and crafty player to change angles or reposition on his opponents. These are also locations that typically have a high density of loot, and so tactical players, they're pretty adept at using just about any weapon in the start of the game. Really, the worst case scenario for a tactical player would be spending the first 90 seconds looking for a viable weapon. If you've watched my aggressive player or passive player video, links are in the description below, you know that I divide Verdansk into 4 quadrants. We're going to start by looking at the northwest quadrant drop location. Here, we have a police station house combination on the mid-tier elevation of the mountain. You've got open sight lines you can take advantage of if you dominate the police station, and plenty of rotation paths from here. The police stations offer a reasonable amount of loot to support a contested drop, as well as an ammo supply crate to keep you in the fight. The house to the northwest offers a solid bail spot, and the small shed across the street from the police station nearly always has a crate in it. You want to be careful about players dropping in at the yellow houses on the top tier towards the dam. If they happen to get a long-range weapon, especially with the number of FALs you can find in the game, they can inflict a significant amount of damage before you can get off the roof of the police station. This is a location you're going to want to be patient with. Holding for an extra second before you start rotating out in the open can typically result in you getting a free kill from some unknowing player running up or down the roads. I wouldn't recommend rotating towards the airport. If you need to move towards the southwest quadrant, I'd recommend wrapping either up towards the dam in the map's edge or down towards the TV station. The open grounds kind of surrounding the airport is really just a killing field for noobs. Let's take a look at what the northeast quadrant drop is. Here, we've got a 3-story building surrounded by houses and a gas station. This offers multiple levels for combat and looting, as well as sightlines to pick off players rotating in or through this drop location or grabbing somebody that's coming out of the gulag. I will typically aim for the 3-story building's roof, but if someone's clearly beating me down here, I'll bail to the second level staircase on the south side of the building or the yellow house to the north. You're typically going to see players bail to the houses. The second story staircase is an okay spot because you can typically get loot, but with the current audio system in Warzone, you're going to have some trouble identifying where players are around you, and you're going to be surrounded by players. So just make sure you take that in context. I'm going to tend to avoid this drop if it's on the direct flight path, because it tends to be a pretty saturated player drop if it's at the very beginning or the very end of a flight path. I'd really prefer to stretch my flight to this location when a circle is predominantly located in the southeast quadrant. This is a good location to initially drop in and then move into the quarry if you're looking to play a little bit more aggressively. The camp to the southeast on top of the cliff, the one that overlooks the stadium, that's a common place for people to drop into or rotate into around the closure of the first circle. So if you're rotating to the south, make sure you're taking enough time to properly clear this location so you don't get caught off guard. Next up, we've got the southwest quadrant. The southwest quadrant is a pretty unique area of the map. I really like this drop when it's late and inside the circle. There's a stretch of buildings from a large electronics store down to the green apartments. This is going to be on the north stretch of Promenade East. This is a good drop if you want a spot you can really methodically loot and take your time during the first couple of zones. It's good to kind of get the feel for the match. There is solid building to building fighting here, but you want to be careful for an opportunistic sniper shooting from either the train station or the construction yard to the south. Be careful when you're calling in a loadout here because it really draws the sweats like a moth to a flame. I'll tend to throw my loadout on the balcony, the northern balcony of the restaurant. That's the red restaurant with the bar in the bottom. This will typically give you a little bit more protection when you're dropping your loadout in. I'll plan my rotations from this drop going through the buildings either to the east towards train station or into Promenade East. If you're going to rotate on the ground, you're really going to want to keep your head on a swivel. There's a lot of crossroads and intersections that you're going to have to stay on top of. Typically, if I'm rotating through Promenade East, I'm going to take the time to climb a building and rotate through the air. There's a building cluster between Hills and Promenade West. This is a good spot that typically has a saturation of players that drop there that you're going to be able to clean up some kills on. So if you're looking to play pretty aggressive and you get a loadout early, that's a good place to push. Otherwise, you might want to avoid rotating through there if you're looking to have a little bit of a slower match. Overall, this is probably my favorite drop location for a center of zone drop spot. The final quadrant I want to drop in is the southeast. I'd like to go to the southern edge building cluster down in downtown. When I'm dropping here, I like to drop on the dual level red brick house down to the south. There's also some buses that I'll bail to, and they'll typically have a contract right in that area. So if you like to grab a contract right out of the gate, you're usually going to find one right around there. This spot has a high level of loot density, and it's a solid drop for taking fights you can control. You can control a lot of the angles, you can bail into buildings, you can take them as fast or as slow as you want. So if you're looking to build confidence early, this is a reasonable spot to drop into. I'll tend to drop here over all the other locations with the exception of the Promenade West location when it's in the center of zone. I feel like downtown offers really the best rotation options, especially for my play style. It's relatively easy to get to most of the rest of the map through downtown. I'll avoid stadium and tend to try and stick to building clusters. The tough part about downtown is going to be getting picked off by a sniper because there's so many rooftops. I think that this is overinflated a little bit. You don't need to be constantly running in the center of a street. You can move to a building's edge, and that cuts off the angle for a lot of snipers. Where I do get caught and where I caution people is when a zone pulls out towards prison kind of farmland. In these scenarios, you do not want to be rotating late through that valley between downtown and port. I will rotate early, usually try and post up in port and clean up all of the stragglers kind of coming through in that open ground. All right, so let's talk a little bit about loadouts. Just a reminder, when I'm giving loadout recommendations, I cover 4 types of loadouts. We've got the sniper only class, a long range non-sniper class, my best all around class, and then the close quarters class. Let's start with the sniper class. For the sniper class, I recommend the HDR with a monolithic suppressor. We've got the HDR Pro barrel, variable zoom scope, the FTAC champion stock, and a bipod. This is really a solid all around sniper, especially with the recent buff to torso damage on the HDR. Its combination of damage range and shot speed gives you a solid balance if you're treating it as your main weapon. We're going to back it up with an M19 with a monolithic suppressor, the XRK super barrel, the 5 milliwatt laser, match grade trigger, and a steepled grip tape. This is a bob and weave pistol setup. This is designed for being behind a tree, ducking out, double tap, moving back in. This is not something you want to go down range with unless you either have to or you've shedded somebody's armor, in which case you take somebody's armor off, just go ahead and put every round you have downrange and try and bum rush the guy. For perks, we're rocking Cold-Blooded, Ghost, and Spotter. I like to pair my sniper classes with Proximity Mine and Stun Grenade. That Stun Grenade can really give you an advantage if somebody sneaks up on you. A slight disclaimer for this, if you have a chance to pick up a better secondary weapon than a pistol, you should. I'm assuming that that's kind of a given here. Next, we've got our long-range non-sniper class. For this, we're running the CR56, aka the Galil, as a DMR. We've got the monolithic suppressor, the XRK Zodiac barrel, thermal hybrid scope, the operator foregrip, and the M67 10-round clip. This is a high-powered, stabled, single-shot weapon. Yes, I'm recommending you flip it to single shot. We're going to run this class with overkill with an MP7. We've got the monolithic suppressor on the MP7, the FSS recon barrel, 5 milliwatt laser, rubberized grip tape, and 60-round mags. For perks, we've got EOD, overkill, and shrapnel. I recommend the proximity mine and a stun grenade here. This is really a strong class that I'm only concerned about using when a final zone is moving around prison, quarry, kind of the airfield by airport. The reason for that is my lack of thermal protection. If you see the final zone going towards one of these locations and you're running this class, I tend to recommend that you switch up to some type of ghost class with the airdrops that come in. This is just because without that thermal protection, you're going to be targeted before others in those wide open spaces, and we want to try and not give other people an advantage. Next up is my recommended all-around class for a tactical player. It's probably not going to come as a surprise, but the weapon we're going to talk about is the Growl. The quote-unquote nerf that they put the weapon through with the last patch is really not noticeable for the average gunfight. And that's mostly because it's related to distance. So with this class, we're going to recommend using the Monolithic Suppressor, the Archangel Barrel, Operator Foregrip, F-Tac Rubber Grip, and a 50-round magazine. We're going to pair that with the old trusty boomstick that is the RPG, and you are ready to slay. For perks, I recommend Cold-Blooded, Ghost, and Tracker. Lethal, we've got the C4, and the Tactical is the Heartbeat Sensor. This is really pretty much the meta class right now. If you want to replace your RPG with an MP5, go for it. I think that you're better off keeping Ghost and just picking up an MP5 or some sort of SMG that you can find in-game. I wouldn't recommend trying to plink at people from a great distance with this. That's where that nerf came in. If you're shooting at someone across the map, you're probably not going to get the kill, and really you're just being annoying and letting other people around you know where you're at. For the final class, we've got the Close Quarters Loadout. I'm recommending the P90 with a Monolithic Suppressor, which is really kind of becoming a theme here with that attachment. We've got the Retribution Barrel, the 5 milliwatt laser, and rubberized grip tape for both the underbarrel and the rear grip. This is a highly accurate, fast-firing weapon that doesn't get completely outclassed by an AR like an M13 in the mid-range. This is a strong weapon for players that like to do their CQB fighting while aiming down sight. Those players that are ADS to peek doorways and corners, this is the type of loadout that you're going to want to lean into. We're going to back it up with the Desert Eagle. We've got the Monolithic Suppressor, the Forge Tac Extended Barrel, the GI Mini Reflex Sight, a heavy-duty trigger, and then rubberized grip tape. The only time I'm really pulling the Deagle out is to plink shots at somebody that's head glitching me in the mid to long range space, or if I've ripped a player and I just need a precision shot or two to finish the kill. Think about someone that's laying in open space behind a small rock or something of that nature and you can see their legs. If I'm running this class in game and I find a Kar 98 with a scope or some other type of sniper rifle off a player, I'm swapping the pistol out for that. In terms of perks, we're going to keep the theme going with Cold-Blooded and Ghost. I'm adding Tracker to help with chasing fools down in buildings. You've got C4 for the lethal and Heartbeat Sensor for the tactical. There you have it, guys. Those are my recommended drop locations and loadouts for the tactical playstyle. I got a number of new videos in the works to help you improve your Warzone game, especially if you're trying to rock out some solos. Any love you feel that these videos warrant or have earned, it's greatly appreciated. A like, a subscription, a positive comment, all of those are great fuel for me to keep up the content creation grind. For anyone out there that's felt a little bit like a black sheep or a misfit because of your passion for gaming, just know you are not alone. I've been there, and you've got a home in this community. For all my other misfits, take care.
That's a win. Took what was yours and made them pay for it.